All right, everyone. Welcome once again to Faces of Business. I'm Damon Pistulka, your co-host, and I am excited for our guest today. I've got Roz Lowe with me today from LA Gauge. We are going to be talking about the advantages of niche manufacturing markets. Roz, thanks for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I look forward to this show. It's fun. It's going to be fun.
Oh yeah. And some people were commenting and we were like, oh God, we are late because we go live at 3:05. We were just sitting here jabbering away. It was great. We're talking and we're going to talk about some other stuff about what we were hitting too. And I have to write some of that down, but it's great to have you on today. So Roz, we always like to start with people and kind of let them understand your background, because you've been in manufacturing and specifically pretty niche manufacturing for a number of years. So kind of walk us through your background and how you've been helping manufacturers.
Sure. I was born into the industry, basically. I won't go through the whole coal miner's daughter story, but my family's, four generations deep into this game.
Oh, wow.
I started out with in precision centerless grinding and thread rolling niche market. And then I moved on, and I used that in my career for a little while, that niche market of thread rolling. That's, definitely everybody doesn't just do that. Working with unique material grades has always kind of been a wheelhouse to me. And, there are so many different components within saying all of that. Of niche markets that I've been exposed to. LA Gauge is where I am now. And I mean, we are a niche market with a double scoop of ice cream of niche, currently, like the industry that I'm in now, our focus is first off beryllium. So there aren't too many shops out there that are working. And when I say beryllium, I don't mean beryllium copper, right?
Yeah.
There are shops out there that will still, play with beryllium copper. I wouldn't suggest they do that, but there's not as much marketing on the bad side of that as there would be with beryllium. So beryllium, technically, there's about, I'm going to say maybe 5 manufacturers out there that I'm aware of, in my end of it, who are manufacturing. Out of those 5, I think there's maybe 3 or 2 that are worthy, and LA Gauge happens to be one of those companies. And why is that? Why are they so special there? Well, the other niche to LA Gauge, extreme close tolerances, complex components that we work in. And as I've grown up in the industry. And my father owned a company, and that's how I was introduced to it. And I was, the whole daddy's little girl thing. Yeah. So I really got close to many business owners, like my uncles and grandfathers, and, over at the house for barbecues. So I've gotten to know these folks, and I know people that are just masters in this art of manufacturing. And when I say that we work in complex, close tolerances, some of those masters that I know, I've spoken to them about some of the prints we're working on or the components we're working on, and they're like, they wouldn't even touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even be able to get a quote from the majority. I think 99% of the manufacturers out there would look at a print with the type of tolerances that we're working in, and they would say, forget about it. In aluminum. Now add beryllium to the mix.
It's a little.
That's why there's only about 2 that do what we do.
Yeah. So when you're talking about the tolerance, what kind are you talking? I mean,
within millions. We do polish mirrors. Within 20th wave. So
you're measuring with light. That's Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but we do use Zeiss CMMs. We have Calypso software.
Yeah.
Some of the machines that we have here are really the best the industry has to offer, period, hands down. But it didn't, it wasn't that way at the very beginning. So there's definitely opportunity in the conversation, but this is definitely that 4-leaf clover.
Yeah. So
as
when
far
you,
as niche markets.
yeah, yeah. So when you look at the advantages of working in a extremely niche down market, what are some of the things that you really see that are benefits to it?
Besides making more money?
Well, no, that's one of them. That's
That's,
definitely one of them, because if you're the
yeah,
only one that can do it, then obviously you can charge within reason what you need to
yeah,
do
of
it.
course. Well, it's kind of like if you think about it, I mean, there are a lot of markets that you can apply this thought process to. So say you're a primary care physician, right? And you make a great living, and that's awesome. And you want for nothing. You're a primary care physician. You have tons of
Mm-hmm.
customers, perhaps. You've
Mm-hmm.
you've even bought another doctor's business who retired. Let's just say you're that.
Yeah.
Then you're a brain surgeon, right?
Yeah.
So there's right who's making more money. I mean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, is the primary care physician making money? Of course he is. He's making a great living.
Yeah.
Is the brain surgeon making? Yes, the brain surgeon's making really good money. And then
Yeah.
you could even add more examples onto the brain surgeon and say, well, this brain surgeon only deals with patients who are X, Y, and Z, and even
Yeah.
further minimize the candidates that would come to that doctor. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to increase the costs and demand, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he's the only guy. So
Yep.
same thing.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So as you're doing this in the markets, what are some of the things that you've seen change over the last couple of years, even in your niche market, that surprised you?
Well, here's the thing, and I think that anyone can apply this to their business. I didn't want to just talk about a niche market where people think, oh, well, how am I supposed to get into that?
Yeah.
But to answer your question, customer service, right? So you don't tend to think you're going to find really good customer service, customer advocating driven workforce who's driven to cater to the customer's demands and needs, and who's going to answer the questions the next day, respond to
Mm-hmm.
the emails same day, right? So we happen to be a company that does do that, but not to make it a commercial. Some of the things I've seen are in the industry. I've seen a lot of that go away. That customer advocating service, the pick up the phone and talk to the customer. Everything's very emaily today, and long
Mm-hmm.
ago it wasn't that way.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some changes like that, and so I think bringing back some of the practices of before in my younger years, like picking up a phone and calling a customer, or getting in your car and going and visiting a customer. Relationship building is something that's I think not really happening so much as it once was sort
Yeah.
of the case. I mean, it was that way, right? We used to have fax
Mm-hmm.
machines and no website, and so you had relationships that were built and trust that would be gained because of those relationships built.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see some of that has disappeared, but I do see some of it coming back, and I think that the companies who are making that a very important aspect of their business succeeding, right? So say you're an aluminum shop, or say you're not in a niche market, you're a liquor store and there's 27-Elevens within a 5-block
Yeah.
radius, right? If you're that liquor store or that store that's going to say hi to me and remember my name when I come in, well, I'm not going to go to the 7-Eleven and
Yeah.
for the convenience. I'm going to go where you've built a relationship with me,
Yeah.
and I'll almost feel like I'm cheating on you if I don't go to your liquor store
Yeah.
if the cat food's 10 cents more.
Yeah.
So that is a way to make any business a niche market.
Yeah. Well, you're right. And I was just this morning, I was reading it, and it says people won't do business with you until they really think you're their friend. And I don't think that's ever going to go away. I
No,
think
they
that
have to
we've,
trust you.
yeah, you have to trust you, that, the know, like, and trust. We have to have that. I just really think that what, some, and especially if you're working with bigger corporations, that they've really pushed the people to the point that it's, it's the relationships are getting neglected on both sides, and it's one of these things that I do believe is coming back, and because of technology too, because things like this, I mean, it's much better to do a phone call when you can see and watch the expressions, and if I have something, we could talk about what it is, and I could show it to somebody, and we could talk of those things, or even sharing a screen with a solid model on it is a good way to do it. But I
Absolutely.
think,
But I will say we were working with a customer in New York during COVID, right?
yeah,
And in this side of the industry, when you're working at this level, oftentimes you'll have to deal with a source inspector, right? And he's not
hmm,
sourcing you because you're hoping they'll put you on the ASL. I mean, sometimes it's a source inspector that's coming out to watch throughout the process, and maybe that's part of what needs to happen, right?
yeah,
So I was like, well, it was a source inspector though, the source guy. They had to source the shop, and it was COVID, and everybody was grounded, so that wasn't going to happen. So I put
yeah,
a phone on a Zoom stick and was like, we can overcome it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
walked it through the shop, and the phone's falling off the
yeah,
stick, and it was terrible. We still earned their business, so we did
yeah,
win the customer. I think it was maybe much to do with, of course, what we can do, but the enthusiasm that we tried so hard to earn them, earn their business. But eventually, I started making these virtual shop tours,
hmm,
and during COVID, I was like, well, I can't do this Zoom call thing again and have the phone drop off, and you
yeah,
couldn't hear me, and the lighting was stupid, and it didn't show things the way I wanted it to. So I made a virtual shop tour, and that was really great. So video is like now the new line card, right?
hmm,
So it used to be where we'd email a line card, or people will go to your website and see all your machines, but half of your many buyers today, they don't even know what those
no,
machines are going to do.
yeah,
And even if you gave size, it's still, what does that mean?
yeah,
But when you have a live video and you're literally showing what your shop is doing, and like you said, hey, look at this part, that's just so much, it's powerful,
yeah,
and can really open up a lot of doors. So that's yet another thing that's changed quite a bit, the
yeah,
technology.
yeah, yeah. So we had a couple questions. Jeremy said a few things. Jeremy Houghton, uh, he said you must have a lot of Mavericks. I think he was talking about when you were talking about, and it is. I mean, it is when you get into the different kinds of machining. Even I was never in tolerance machining like you're talking about there, but even when you move into complex 5-axis kind of stuff, we were making parts for the F-22 and other kind of defense things. So it's been a while. You can tell because it hasn't been in production in a
No,
while.
that's still,
But
I mean,
but
spares
even when you're
market.
looking at those, kind of things, there are specialists. There are specialists that come into it. So you have the general person that runs the CNC in a normal shop that you see down the street, and then there could be the one that works in this kind, and there could be one that works in a medical. It's completely different than just depending on what you're doing. And even like you were talking about the centerless grinding, there's just so many specialized technologies, or the mill turn that we see different things happening, or that it's
Yeah,
just there's so many different specialties that can do it. But Jeremy also said something, because you get to dictate to your customers, and when he was talking, that's when we were talking about being able to make more money when you niche down, and some of it is honestly you can get the margin you really should for what you're doing.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And
Yeah,
then
that's a sad thing I'm seeing in the industry. I mean, I've actually been recruiting for a couple of weeks right now. Okay.
yeah.
Our backlog's very healthy. So, we're expanding and we're growing. And,
Hmm.
the owner's actually going to put a second floor on the company, and we're going to use all the office space that we currently have, which is an additional 5,000 square foot of space.
Hmm.
To grow even more and put more equipment. And then
Yeah.
what are we going to do with those machines? We're going to need people.
Yeah.
So we're actually, aggressively, I'm aggressively
Yeah.
recruiting. And some of the guys I've talked to, just to get a feel for what you range, I want to say, I don't think machinists are making the amount of money that they should.
Yeah.
And, I'll tell you, when you're in a niche market, You know, when you're making commercial components, I mean, a business owner can only do what they can do.
Yeah.
You know, and we're in California, so it's not a very small business friendly state as far as financially, the taxes and everything that you have to pay and all of this. I mean, there's certainly other states that offer the manufacturing industry a much more healthier environment to thrive and grow.
Yep.
You know, but I mean, wages, you know, are better, I think, when you're in a company that you know, does do specialty work. You know, there's more opportunity to grow and to earn more, right? And have more for your family. And then, you know, so it's not just good for the business owner, right? It's also good for the people that work at the company. You can make a living wage, or maybe more than a living wage, where you can actually save for your kids' college, you know, right? And that's, I think, the American dream.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're right there. That's for sure. And it does, because you when there's a little bit more margin to spread around, it's good for everyone, usually. If the business owner is smart, that's the way or do it. So Matt Goosey. Now Matt's got a machining shop in Wisconsin. So unfortunately, he's a Green Bay Packers fan. But we still love him, even though he is. Yeah, and he had to give me a Seahawks dig while we were on here. But anyway, Matt runs a good shop, and he just specializes in what he does, and it's more turning and more big turning and specialty stuff. But Matt's done a really good job of he's very plugged into the local high schools, and so much so that they developed he's got a vocational school within the school and some other things like that really hit. I believe he told me his average age of his workforce was under 30.
That's awesome.
Which is it's crazy in the industry anymore to see that. But you know, there are, like you said, we were talking the other day, and you were talking about the fact that you are finding a lot of good candidates. And
you know, and we've got apprenticeship programs, and it sounds like your buddy in Wisconsin may have maybe a better program, but you know, the thing of it is, you know, we've got a lot of companies that are, you know, there's no workers, we need trade schools back. Yes, we do. So we've got a lot of schools and the state's throwing a lot of money at the schools to develop these apprenticeship programs, or rather trade schools. But the disconnect is, you know, the shops weren't talking to the school about the curriculum that would be needed, so that when they do produce a graduate, that it's applicable to the industry, right? So there was a bit of a disconnect there. Now, I think there's been a lot of funding, a lot of different organizations. I think NTMA is a good one. There's also a couple local California organizations that are now carrying and working with the business owners to find out more about, well, what is it that you need these people to learn, you know? And the interesting thing too is a lot of like, I think outside of the box, right? So I think like a business owner, because I come from a family business. So example, we have a young man here, he's our contracts lead. And when I met him, he was just a young man, graduate from Santa Barbara, English major, high grades, good marks, etc. It's doubtful that he was thinking to make his career in the manufacturing sector. But you know, if you think outside of the box, you think, well, here's a good writer, right? And the world today is all about emails, and you want to make sure everything's spelled correctly in the email if we're going that way, world, right? And so, you know, his spelling, his punctuation, he's a contracts guy. This young man loves reading, and he that's his thing. So who would you want to have looking over a contract that's 50 pages thick, right? But somebody who literally enjoys and thrives on reading, right? So, you know, I think there are a lot of people that we can pull from the colleges, even current times, you know, without the trade school imposed within their curriculum or their minds. And there are a lot of roles in the manufacturing sector where, you know, what they come to the table with just out of their natural skill sets can be applicable in the manufacturing sector.
Mm-hmm.
We have a guy that was an accountant who is in our quality department, and he's one of the best inspectors, that I've ever seen. So who better than to look at the calculations, right, than maybe an accountant? So you have the colleges that are producing a lot of people where maybe they're being overlooked, and we just have to start looking at these candidates. And I'd rather see these young college degrees working in an aerospace manufacturer with making military components to defend our country and our people than at Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that as I look through resumes right now. Right?
Well, that's good. It's inspiring to hear that. And I think you're doing one of the things, and I wrote down the word diversity, because we used to look at manufacturing and go, okay, you have to come from a trade school, or you have to have this kind of degree or that kind of degree. And I think what we really realized is that aptitude and want to do it, if they get it and want to do it, they probably have the capacity to do it. In most cases, it's just we have to be ready to train the people the right way. And I that's one of the things that I really enjoy, and I enjoy spreading too, is the fact that even when you look at the high schools, there's a lot of kids that are coming out of high school now that don't understand that manufacturing is a choice like it really can be for them, because there's nothing saying that you have to be a trade school trained CNC machinist to be the best machinist in the world. It means you have to have a desire to do it. You're going to have to work at it a while. You're going to have to get better at your trade and get better at doing that work. But some of the best you'll see may not have ever touched, stepped inside of a school to run a CNC machine. It's just the desire and some natural ability and some put some work into getting good at it.
And that's why we as manufacturers, or people who've made our careers in this industry, have to literally roll up our sleeves and participate and get involved and go to the school on manufacturing day and talk and be a panelist. And we have to be patriotic. I'm patriotic about my country. And the other thing I'm patriotic about is the manufacturing sector. I am a true, the way you guys are pushing each other around about your football, like some people are big, Patriots fans, or whatever the team is, or UCLA or USC. I'm a manufacturing fan. And if the manufacturing sector had colors as many football teams do, I would say possibly red, white, and blue. And those would be my colors. And so we've got to take that passion and patriotism for the industry to the high schools, because I agree with what you just said. The high school is the best place to plant the seeds of thought in these young people's minds, because a lot of them maybe haven't. I grew up in it, so I was exposed to it. My son grew up in it. He was exposed to it. And so on and so forth. There are so many kids out there who just, for lack of being exposed to it, we have to do something about that and participate.
You said it, participate, and that's a big thing. And I think that we're seeing a lot more of that now, and a lot of the manufacturing companies and people in those companies are really stepping forward. The other thing that I see too that is really great about this is I see a lot more younger people in it, millennials that are talking about it, and they're talking to the Gen Z people about it. And that's great, because,
I think we can thank Elon Musk a little bit. I mean, he's awesome. I mean, he made it cool. He did marketing for us, right? Making rockets, right? Just when we thought everything had been invented and there was nothing left for the entrepreneur to become completely famous and filthy rich because of Elon Musk comes out here and says, hey, let's make rockets and do this whole thing, right? So
and again, another
the marketing that came from it. Kids are look at his Instagram and his followers, and he's more important than most not blues singers, but what is it, rap right?
Yeah.
Musicians nowadays,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, he's right up there.
When you think about, he created a niche market, niche manufacturing market, because nobody
Absolutely.
was really looking at commercially to the extent they are now, commercially building things like that. That'll do it.
Absolutely. And he was a niche market.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what we're talking about. And
Yeah.
he's a perfect example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole crazy thing that what they do, but I won't go down that. So Kazara is at, do you have cells of machinery, or are most of the parts made on one machine?
That is a great question, Kazara. We do operate in cells. Yes, we do. So machinists are trained in a versatile manner. Like a lathe guy is a mill guy, or then again we have machines that offer both. Right, quick turn. It depends on the department. I mean, with regards to we make mirrors here for F-35, the optical targeting systems. So that polishing room is not going to be a cell. Once the component is made, then it goes and we do some really complicated stuff in different areas. What's interesting? Our deburr department. Like a long time ago, it was like, certain machinists were really the desired, oh, we need a 5-axis guy. Where are they? Then it was a CMM guy. That's kind of still going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Deburr guys are going to become, I think, the next hot ticket. That's a side of the industry. Like in my day, deburring was like where it was the entry level.
Yeah.
But I think deburring is definitely a side of the industry. Everything's getting really close in tolerance. You got 3D printing, right? So there's the deburring going on there. And so the deburring is something that's obviously not a cell.
Yeah. Yeah.
To answer her question.
Cool. And then Deb Curtis is talking about, she said her local community is offering high school seniors upon graduation, attend a local trades and manufacturing school, and the school will pay the student versus a student paying the school tuition. That is cool.
Wow.
That is cool, right
we
there.
We need to have Deb on this show.
Yeah, no doubt, because
that's an episode.
Yeah, that is really something, because that is what we need. And I
want to know where she's at, because she's living in a state that's taking the lead in this. And I really would like to find that out.
I believe it's Wisconsin, but I'd have to look. I will look, but
so Wisconsin's got it going on.
Yeah.
I know Kentucky's doing some really great stuff right now. They have a big school and the kid, and you get to go there for a year for free, tuition's free. I mean, think about what Kentucky's doing.
And
they're
Tennessee,
literally feeding an industry so that manufacturing can thrive in their state.
Yeah.
God bless Kentucky.
Yeah. So John's asking this: do you use additive manufacturing in your shop?
John, that's an excellent question. Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. Yeah, but definitely a great, with Beryllium, they're like that. He's speaking more to like 3D printing and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing. So they are experimenting with Beryllium, and I don't know if most of your listeners would know this, but there's only one supplier for Beryllium.
Yeah.
So even more of a niche market. What a cornered market that is. One supplier, guys. So when everybody right now is really hurting, and I know this, because of some of the things going on with nickel, aluminum, and some of the supply chain issues that we're all about to face. I really want to tell everybody with LPAs,
everybody is
that stock room up with material. Get it while you can. But the Beryllium is just not there yet in the 3D printing world. So if there's any inventors out there, or scientists out there who come up with the solution on that, it's just not there yet.
Refresh, because beryllium's one of those metals it's not very friendly isn't there something about the metal shavings, and what is it with beryllium again? I remember this
thing would be, it's highly toxic.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
It's atrociously toxic. So
Okay.
we have to have special filtration systems and
Yeah.
HEPA filters and these really, I mean, it's an expense to put forth in order to play in this market.
Yeah.
So, you really have to take some extremely serious precautions to participate in this side of the industry, which we do. You have to.
Yeah.
One speck of that dust in your lungs is game over for you. You're going to be around for a while, but it's not going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Right. So you really have to be careful. And beryllium, the reason why it's really so popular right now in space applications and in nuclear applications, the material itself, it's the toughest, the hardest material, and it's also the most fragile.
Oh.
Also, in regards to heat and extreme temperatures, so in deep space or really, really close to the sun, can you imagine the temperature variations that might take place? Well, beryllium's not going to change size.
Yeah.
And it's very, very light. So when you're making components that are going to go in something that's going to go into space, it's a logical conclusion to spend the money up front on, the more expensive material that's going to last for, you're going to have better results from it. And it's lighter weight. So, you're not driving your F-350 Ford down the street. It's more like your Leaf,
Yeah, you don't need much power to move it around. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So the weight is really.
That's cool. That's cool. It's interesting. It's interesting. Like you said, the niche, when you talk about you deal with beryllium. So what does that mean? That means I have to even do the safety precautions. That means we're going to be in these kind of customers. We know where we're going to be working, but you can really get good at that because you also know why they're choosing that material and the kind of tolerances and the things that it's going to be, where it's going to be used, and why it's so critical to have it exactly right.
Fascinating side of the industry. I mean, we had NASA out here not long ago, and they were doing a documentary series on James Webb Telescope, and we were included in that documentary series. They came out and did a piece on us, and and you get to talk to the people that are part of these programs and the designs and the design side. And I mean, not just James Webb Telescope, but a lot of the stuff we work on is just really, really interesting. I just love that side of it. Getting to participate on some of these really interesting projects.
Yeah, very cool. Well, Deb did say that it is in Little Walworth County, Wisconsin. She said it's in a rural area. So,
what's their team again?
See, and Matt came up with this again. See what happens when you're a package
Matt, because I'm a patriot about the manufacturing sector, I'm going to have to say, I think maybe Matt's got the team.
But it is, you see these, this is what I don't think, again, when people think about manufacturing in the United States, they don't really put two and two together. They see like the James Webb Telescope, and they don't understand that the company where you're working made components for that. And that's could be right down the street from where they live. It could be a place where they could work. They could talk about it. I still remember a company that I ran years ago, and I know how long it is because we made the wheels on the Mars rover that you see on TV now with the holes in them. They were out of aluminum, but you think about that, and you think about those kind of things that you think about as you do that. There are memories, and you get part of these programs, like you said, and it's really something. And it's super cool that you had NASA out there and they were documenting that gazillion billion dollar, telescope that they put out there. That's going to really help us for years to come. So
we were making some parts for the first rockets for SpaceX at my dad's shop. And, we did a bang up job for him. We did a really good job, and we, did some expedites like overnight. It was crazy. Right. And so here's another cool thing. So my son at the time was like, I think he was like 16, 17. Right. And they ended up giving us a private tour of SpaceX, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they were just really nice people, such nice
Yeah.
people. They also sent us a bunch of t-shirts, like, what can we do for you? And I was like, some t-shirts would be cool. And like for the next couple of weeks, I was getting these UPS packages and they were just full of t-shirts. And my son, you know, was part of like the geek squad in his class.
Yeah.
Right? He was like the gamer kids, and a lot of his friends went on to be in this industry. He became an inspector guy. Now he's making commercials for shops, right? For
very good.
So he's in the industry, and they gave us all these shirts, and he got to hand them out to his friends. And I got to be the coolest mom to a 17-year-old. Trust me, a 17-year-old son and being a cool mom is not an easy.
It doesn't happen very often. Yeah,
it does not happen.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't happen.
You know,
often.
mom's taking you on a tour with a couple of your buddies.
Yeah.
To SpaceX, and it was amazing. I saw. Speaking to John's question, they had 3D printers. Like I knew what all the machines were because I've grown up in this, right?
Yeah.
I was like bragging to my kid, you know, I'm like, that's a blah, 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 and that's a yada, yada. And there was a machine and it looked like a wire EDM, you know, kind of machine. But it wasn't. And I was like, what is that? And they're like, that's a 3D printer, Roz. And I was like, what? And it was printing titanium. Flywheel, you know, really, really intricate, you know, stuff. It was just crazy, really complex component right there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. 3D printing in titanium, right? I don't think the tensile strength is there though because of the honeycomb effect. You know,
I don't know. I know they're doing some crazy stuff, and but again, we're talking about these niche markets where you look at it and you go, okay, what can it really do for an industry? What can it really do when you look at traditional manufacturing methods, or you look at using additive machining, and then maybe it's additive machining with or additive manufacturing with machining and combination to it, or grinding or something else, and you can get these parts that we couldn't build before, simply couldn't build. And that's the thing that I see crazy about when you look at the additive manufacturing and as they expand into other materials, because now you look at, you know, we couldn't machine something like that, or we couldn't mold something like that, or we could, you know, now we can.
You know, I went to the SHOT Show. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's like one of the biggest gun conventions. Amazing.
I've been to it.
Amazing, right? It's amazing. And so I was at one of the booths, and the guy had these silencers, right? And I was looking at the silencer. I was like, how do you make these? And he said 3D printing. And I was thinking, my God, that must take forever. These must be so expensive. I'm thinking in my head, and I'm like, how long does it take you to make these? And these were I'm talking, it looked like armadillo skin, you know, the design on it, the outside, it was really amazing. And it had all these channels on the inside, you know, this piece. And I asked, how long does it take you to make those? And he said, about 3 days. And I'm just thinking, wow, that's not going to be a thing. And I said, have you ever costed out, you know, to machine it, right? What's the cost difference there? And he said, well, you would never be able to make this on a machine.
Yeah.
So the way it was actually designed, interestingly enough, 3D printing was the literal only way that this piece could be made. So yeah, it's like everything hasn't been invented yet.
Yep. That's cool. It's great to get to talk to you about this today, Roz, because I knew that you have been in some of these really niche places, like you are now at LA Gauge, like in the thread rolling and the centerless grinding. I mean, it's just specialty within a specialty within an industry. And talking about it a bit, you know, and letting people understand, there are intricacies. You're going to be able to really specialize though, and get really intimate with your customers, with their needs, with the special interests that they have, to really develop relationships that isn't like, I'm a machine shop and Damon needs a machine piece and he just goes down the street to get some. It's not that kind of relationship. It's like you said, you're one or two in the world, and or in the US, and they're going to come to you, and you probably know them already.
Yeah, but then we don't know everybody.
I don't know everybody.
I've gotten some new business in the last couple of years here.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
know, there's
that's
always
true.
doors to be opened. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're one of few, it's much easier to open those doors too.
100%. But
Yeah,
you still have to, you really still, you can't become stuck up about it.
yeah, yeah,
You know? Because, well, no, you, I mean, you know, you can't, you have to, I think it's really important that you always have that customer advocating side of your company, no matter if you're the brain surgeon or you're the primary care doctor. You know, you have to be grateful. I think, you know,
yeah,
one of our actually, you know, everybody's company has their mantra, right? You know, these are the things we follow, and one of ours is being humble. So
yeah,
that's right up there with root cause and, you know, everything that's important to a company. I mean, one of our number 5, you know, in the top 5, you know, what part of our mantra is to be humble. So no matter how big you get, it doesn't really matter. You know,
yeah.
you have to always really care about that customer and, you know, meet their needs. And when you can't, you got to pick up the phone and let them know why you can't and you're not gonna,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
have an honest, good relationship.
Yep. Yeah. That's for sure. Good stuff, Roz. I so much appreciate you stopping by today and talking with us. It's great to understand. It's great to understand more about the niche markets and manufacturing markets you're in. You know, Beryllium is. You know, I knew it was special. I didn't realize how special it was until you were doing it, and I knew the stuff you're making was extremely cool. And that's awesome as well. I want to thank everyone for listening today too. And I just see, I make sure I got through the questions. I think so. But and Deb says, yeah, humble is an intangible asset.
Deb, we
Yeah,
need to connect for sure. I think I'm
yeah,
hoping we're connected. Thank you. That was
yeah.
really
Well,
nice.
I'll do an introduction after this. I'll do that. I'll write it down here and do that. Deb's great because it really is. When you look at humble being, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's humility in what we do is important every day because as soon as you think you know, you really don't.
Exactly.
And if time and experience tells you anything, that's true.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
One tidbit to give everybody before we go.
all right.
Valentine's Day is coming up, right? February. So, you know, nowadays everybody always used to give out Christmas cards.
Aren't we? No,
February? Oh
well,
no,
it's
we
March.
missed it.
We
Never
missed it.
mind.
We missed it.
Next year. Next
Next
year.
year we'll do it next year. Because I was like Valentine's Day. Oh, I'm in trouble. I missed
I was
it.
thinking about it. No, but like I do Valentine's stuff for customers. So
Yeah,
I was going to say, people that are salespeople, if you're trying to get somebody to be your customer, you send them that, will you be my customer, Valentine? Or if you have customers that you're already working with, you send them that.
Yeah.
We love our customers. So, you know, you can do marketing things that make your business a niche. You know, you can emphasize a really customer advocating driven team.
Yeah.
You know, you can focus on being the best quality or working in unique material grades. But there's always opportunity in any business to make that business a niche business.
Yeah. Unique in its own way. And
Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, we even there was a metal fabrication company that I ran a number of years ago, and our niche is we could turn your production orders in 5 days, and all the
I
time.
know a lot of people that would like you to be that.
No, we can do it in 5 days, and it was the way the way the factory was set up, the way that we did it, the kind of materials we used, and we could turn production orders in 5 days. They weren't tens of thousands; they were tens of thousands. But you know, if it was 1,000, we could do it in 5 days, all the time.
That's
And
amazing.
well, you have to run 24/7. You have to do some other things, and you have to have the right equipment. But it's one of these things that was a plain place that if you looked at it like everyone else did, we bend metal, we weld metal, we do whatever. But no, it's unique because we can do something that makes it very hard for anyone else to do. Just like you,
Awesome.
if you're going to make a Beryllium mirror, there's not many places to go. If I want my parts quick, or I want to have a lower inventory, and I can get my parts when I need them all the time. There's different ways to make them unique. It's the automotive shop down the street can be unique if they want to be. So
I can't even get a quote turned around that fast. So really impressive.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's something to put in a
it's
package.
awesome that you bring that up though. There are opportunities to be unique in anything you do. And when you do that, you separate yourself from the rest, just like niching down. You know, Kurt Anderson, he and I talk all the time. He brings up the pink running shoes with purple shoelaces. When you get that detailed on what you do, people come to you because they need what you do. Not if I
Yeah.
said if I do running shoes, well, then there's a lot of people that want running shoes, but maybe I have the pink running shoes with the purple shoelaces. That's what I sell. When you have that and that's what you sell, you know, when somebody comes to you, you're pretty sure they're going to buy that shoe from you.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Exactly.
mean, it really for you when you niche down, the other thing that you're doing is it allows you to focus. I don't get
I
distracted over
agree.
here. I'm not going to make something for this because we don't do that. We do this, and you really can get good and focus in on that and get really good in your industry.
100%. Absolutely correct in that. And
Yeah.
then once you do that, you can model that process and expand
Yeah.
into the next thing that you're going to become the very best at.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, live it, eat it, breathe it. I mean, that's kind
Yeah.
of always
Yeah.
been
You
my
have to.
motto anyways, but yeah,
Yep.
you know, yeah, that's the approach. Hey, I got to know, what are your thoughts on the robotics that are coming into the industry now? I see a lot of shops right now that are going with the robotics, you know, lights out. You mentioned that.
It's gonna
Awesome, but
keep working. Well, and realistically, when you think about it, how many people are retiring compared to how many people the robots will ever really replace? And I don't think we're ever going to run into the problem where it's replacing enough people to make a difference in the kind of places we're talking about. You know, in a big assembly place, maybe, but not in the CNC
oh yeah,
fabrication, anything like that. It's not. It's going to
not in
be
the prototype world, but in the CNC world it is
yeah.
a thing that's happening. I'm like,
Yeah.
my son was at a shop recently doing a film on them, and I mean, they've only got. I mean, the only people that they have working on the shop floor are basically the ones that are loading up the tool changers, you
Yeah.
know, for the machines. And I mean, it's extremely impressive.
Yeah.
And the components that they're working in are extremely close tolerance, you know,
Yeah.
like plus
Yeah.
or minus couple thou, you know,
Yeah.
kind of
I think
components.
overall it'll be helpful for the companies that need it and can really utilize it. And I think like many of these technologies, the people that use it will be successful and it'll help overall.
I think it's a way to get our commercial manufacturing back. It's one way that we can compete
Yeah.
with foreign
Yeah.
government, with foreign countries
It is.
on
It
that
is.
labor side. I mean, I don't see it as something that's going
Yeah.
to hurt our current industry or the labor or the
No.
workforce or
No.
whatever. I see it as an opportunity to get back
Yeah.
some of the
Yep.
manufacturing we've lost.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, I think so. Awesome. Well, Roz, thanks for being here today. It's
Thank
great
you.
talking to you about the advantages of niche manufacturing markets and what you're in and talking about some of these other things we can do. Thanks so much to everyone for listening today. We'll be back again next week.